Hey everyone, welcome to today's AMA with Cyfrin and Bunny. I am Will from Cyfrin. I work closely with our institutional partners here, helping them navigate the complex landscape of DeFi security. And one of those partners joining us today is Bunny. Dakotah, first of all, welcome. Please feel free to introduce yourself and your role at Bunny.
Yeah, thank you very much, Will. I am lead of growth over at Bunny, really focused mainly on marketing things at the moment, but I put a BD hat on sometimes and I'm pretty active in the community on Discord.
Nice. And just for everyone's context for today's AMA, we'll have a lot of conversation on what Bunny are doing, introduce a little bit about Uni V4. I know you guys are very close with the Uniswap team. And as always with Cyfrin, we'll discuss a bit about security. So I think a great place to start for everyone would be, an introduction to Bunny and tell us a little bit more about what you guys are building.
Okay, so we are a DEX built on top of Uni V4, which is where that relationship kind of becomes pretty organic. We're mainly focused on trying to maximize returns for LPs, and we do that in a few different ways. Probably the easiest way to describe it, and easiest for like someone to see like clear reason why Bunny is so special is through our Uni V4 hook. We do this process called rehypothecation, where we take idle assets and let them go earn throughout DeFi until they're needed for a swap, and then they're back just in time for liquidity purposes. We do a few other things that I can talk about if you want to, like programmable liquidity, LDFs, etc. But it's all in our docs. You can go by and check that out, or jump in the Discord and we can answer questions for you too.
Yeah, of course. Well, something you touched on there around programmable liquidity, perhaps for those that don't know what that is, do you want to explain a little bit more about it and how that fits into your value prop?
Yeah. Okay. So it's really going to be different for every. The whole point is to be very functional for whatever the need is. So if you have a stable coin that you're trying to defend the peg on, you might use programmable liquidity to shape shift, which is basic. You have a range, right, where your liquidity is sitting. And if this asset depegs with Bunny, you can use programmable liquidity to change the shape to maybe go from being center heavy to edge heavy, and then switch back. So it creates a world where you can buy dips and push it back towards pegs. We can help other protocols that maybe they have they're pegged to something, but that moves over time. We can make it so liquidity shifts based on that. Basically, if you have a need with your liquidity, we can help get your liquidity shaped to be where it needs to be when it needs to be there.
Awesome. And obviously there's quite a few things that you touched on there. How has that sort of evolved over time from, the first problem that you were looking to solve with Bunny to now having multiple different things that people are using you
for? Okay, so Bunny V1, we're on Bunny V2 right now. Bunny V1, we really just focused on wrapping an LP position and that it's normally an NFT, turning it into an ERC20 and making it composable. So we've gone from a point where we're not really changing a range at all. We're just helping from a composability standpoint to, yeah, I mean, the options are pretty much limitless at this point. So, but from the most bare bones, permissionless product you could have had, more to, and you can still kind of get that with Bunny, but now you can turn on all the fancy switches and make it as complicated or as simple as you'd like at this point.
Awesome. And first of all, well, in terms of congratulations, you guys have reached a new all-time high, and I think you're the #1 on Uniswap hook volume as well. What do you think's behind driving that momentum?
So we've seen a lot of success with the stablecoin pool on Unichain. It's actually receiving incentives from a governance proposal that Uniswap Foundation put forward. I don't want to speak too much for them, but they have it inside the Uni governance forums, and their intentions were to help bolster hooks in general, and so we have a good product that stable coins are a low hanging fruit, and we have a lot of different entities that want to see it grow. So that's the main driver this week for sure.
Nice. And I think just to add to that from my side, something that we've noticed when working with you is there's a lot of transparency that you guys have. So if you take a look at, a few months back when we first did that initial audit report with you guys, we found that reentrancy bug. And instead of, hiding behind closed doors and just trying to get it fixed and move on, you're actually pretty open with the community about what had happened, what you guys were doing to solve that problem. And of course, then updating the community on what it is that you'd done. Do you also think that transparency is, one of the key things to driving the adoption of Bunny?
Yes, I think especially as a younger project, one of the biggest friction points is trust, and the more we can communicate with the community, the more we can learn, the more good guys we have kind of looking over what we're doing and providing feedback. So transparency's helped us a lot. We've had a lot of people come into our ecosystem that want to see us succeed. I was just talking about that, and on like an individual level, being transparent brings those type of individuals into our community.
Nice. And obviously our first work started together through the Uniswap Foundation Security Fund. How important are these sorts of mechanisms from big chains like Uniswap in supporting projects like you guys, especially in the early stage?
Oh man, yeah, it was huge, right? Like you guys found a bug. What I think it was our third audit that we found this bug on. These sorts of things are you have to do them, right? There's too much at risk. We don't. Our biggest goal at the end of the day should be to protect the funds of everyone in there, even before we try to make them anything. And so Uniswap being able to help like get you guys involved and have us protect the product more should hopefully result in like multiples ROI. Like we need people to trust us, and more eyes, more people thinking about it and pushing us forward is very good. And honestly, the audits are expensive, right? So having the big boys support us is great.
Yeah, that last point, audits being expensive. I mean, the problem with security is it's sort of all the answers to the security is gate kept by these security providers. We do as much as we can to share this through different sort of platforms that we have, whether that's Updraft or the blogs. But fundamentally, at the end of the day, an audit costs a lot of money, especially if it's done by people who have the knowledge to those things. When you're starting to explore new opportunities, especially within DeFi, what sort of factors do you take into account? What is it that you're thinking about?
Okay, so when we're exploring new opportunities in DeFi, I would say number one is, okay, what's the lift going to be? Whether that's time invested or, okay, like, is this going to need an audit? How big of an audit is it? Those two things are probably the most important because we got to get the security under control. I maybe I'm not answering this question correctly, Will. So just let me know if I'm way off here. But yeah,
no, it's all good. I was basically going to get on to sort of the evolution of liquidity protocols and where you think they're going and what you guys are going to be doing to basically cement yourselves as one of the forerunners in that.
Okay, cool. So we're pretty big believers in this programmable liquidity thing. I'm not going to really talk too much about that because it's like an individual, like seriously, like if you're a market maker or a protocol, you have your own goals, or just an LP who wants to build something special. Every case over there is going to be individualized. I think there's going to be a lot that happens and grows with that, but rehypothecation is kind of the direction that I really don't see a world where DEXs aren't adopting that more often. It's just a low-hanging fruit, right? You have swap fees that LPs earn when they come and use your platform, and that's great. But if you can pair that with a lending market, so you automatically have this baseline of, okay, I pair with USDC and now my APYs are 2% higher. That scales really well. That can offset emission or incentives at a once the number gets big enough. So I think rehypothecation is going to be a big part of DEXs as we see this evolve over time, and I'm happy that Bunny's kind of leading the way.
Nice. And in terms of like, switching it onto the more security conversation as well. Thanks for jumping on with Cyfrin. We've always got to bring this up. But how do you balance the innovation that you guys have and the new features you have with security?
I don't know if for us, it's not an option for it not to be secured. So as much as we can secure it, we need to do that. We don't ship unaudited code. We don't suggest that anyone really do that. Check the ego at the door is kind of the main thing. Like, I understand you have this exciting new product, or that we have an exciting new product, but you got to get it audited. Slow down, it'll get there.
Yeah, such a good point you raise. I mean, the whole concept, or the history of ship, audit once and ship is pretty dead, right? So I think our first contact back in Q1 was the first audit, and since then we've had 3 or 4 ongoing audits with you guys. So it's always good to see you're taking that step in making sure that first of all it's secure, because at the end of the day, if you've got this great new concept, great new idea, you ship it out without being checked properly, it's then going to come back to bite you, 2, 3, 4 months down the line. And this whole idea that you've had is basically shut down by someone who's found a bug in the code and managed to take everyone's funds. In terms of advice to what you advice to other protocols or other people building, especially around Uniswap v4, what is it that you would get them to do at a first point?
Aside from doubling down on security, especially with newer tech, I think what's really important is to prioritize integration with aggregators and solvers. It's more of a necessity than an add-on if you want to try to get non-toxic order flows.
No, and could you explain a little bit more about those relationships, how you've gone about getting them, and how important they've actually been in sorting things out? Sharing secrets of your BD work, right?
Yeah, begging and pleading for support. It's hard. Like, if I could, I think they know, Uniswap Foundation knows this, so I can probably, like, we've been pretty vocal about this. It's like incredibly hard to get these relationships formed, because you're kind of coming in from like a DEX perspective. If depending on what you're doing, maybe it's not something that's necessary, but as a DEX, you're competing with any other DEX that might be trying to get the attention and integration of one of these aggregators. It takes time. There's engineering lifts on both sides. Normally there's asked or wants, at least from both sides. So yeah, it's quite a bear, and I would say just getting on early, getting in front of them early, and doing any sort of lift you can to help them is probably your best bet.
Yeah, of course, and obviously relying on some of those key relationships with the guys at Uniswap, for example, and don't be afraid to ask, right? Don't be afraid to ask for the introductions and the help that you need, because I think most importantly for this space, we're still so early that we shouldn't be gatekeeping anything. We shouldn't be keeping things closed. It's all about collaboration and making sure that when we do work together, we're doing it for the right reasons.
Certainly.
Cool. So in terms of like the audit processes themselves, I know you've gone through quite a few audits. Before we even started working with you, you had a couple of audits done already. Is there anything in particular about the audit process that you would like to see improved, or is there anything that stood out for you with Cyfrin and the work we did with you?
Well, y'all were very reactive and had fair pricing and were welcoming, answered questions, the whole 9 yards. Like I don't want to gush about you guys too much. I don't think you need it. But it was world-class support, and that made the process easier. I'm not sure. I can't really think of anything to complain about in the process.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not one of the auditors myself. I don't really get involved in the process, and but what I do see is the conversations that take place between our auditors and the teams that we're working with. And for us, it's not just about finding bugs in code bases and handing back an audited piece of code at the end. It's all about a constant team effort to make sure that the protocol's doing the best it can, but also the protocol's doing what it intends to do. Because there's a lot of times when some of the logic that they think they're implementing is not quite what the code is saying. So it's all about testing those assumptions, making sure that the code is, as readable as possible, maintainable as possible, but also, like I said, testing the economic and business assumptions that are going on. And I think, especially in, protocols like yourselves, it's really important that's right, especially in a innovative landscape like composable liquidity or rehypothecation.
Yeah, we're grateful to have you guys double checking stuff for us, for sure.
Cool. And sort of looking forward, especially in terms of Uniswap v4, are there any areas that you think are lacking? Is there anything you'd like to see coming in? What support or additional stuff could the industry be doing to help people out?
I'm just going to double down on this. Everyone's going to know me as the guy who complained about how difficult it was to get aggregator integrations. So I'm gonna stick with that answer. Aggregator integrations is a huge friction point. Has been for us since day one. Any way we can improve that process will make devs have much fuller heads of hair.
And do you have any ideas yourself on how that can be done?
And I don't know. Some of the teams we've worked with have made it so we can send in PRs. It's easier in some ways, I guess. Like there's at least like a path to the top of the mountain, right? Like it's just all, if we're willing to carry the dev lift, like we can get there. If that was like the bare minimum, I think that would at least make some things possible. Some relationships, it's really just waiting patiently and hoping that it's actually going to get done eventually. So yeah, I'd say, if worst case scenario, the team who wants to be integrated can be handed a kit to get it done, that would be huge.
Awesome. Well, yeah, I mean, we'll try our best to support in that way, of course. And in all those conversations we have, our focus is helping the guys out who are really trying to make a difference. And yeah, anything we can do, we'll obviously, we'll take into account. Just want to touch on sort of the future for Bunny, what it is you guys are planning, and if there's anything in particular. I know you spoke at the start about your role being around ecosystem growth. is there anything that you're personally excited about for what Bunny's doing? And please share as much as you can about it for our listeners.
Yeah, I got a few things coming through my head, and I'm going to try not to get in trouble here, though. So we just passed a governance proposal that's BRC 004, which unlocks some emissions for inside of the Bunny ecosystem that we can deploy to kind of bootstrap some relationships. I get to have a big role in that, so I'm excited about that. That's happening. We've been kind of kicking the tires about doing setting up Oracle so we can use LP tokens as collateral. We did this for Bunny V1. It'd be really nice to bring it back for Bunny V2. I'd say that's the thing I'm most excited about, but who knows if that's going to happen or when that's going to happen. But yeah, LP tokens as collateral will be a really cool unlock.
And what was the reasoning for that sort of dipping out when you went across to V2 if you were already using it in V1?
It was tied to the Oracle. But my pay grade, sir. I'm not totally sure on why the other Oracle wouldn't work. Besides, new protocol needs new Oracle.
No, of course, yeah. And anything else that you might be able to share that's not, it doesn't have to be exact word for word, so you don't get in trouble. But if there's any other things that you might be able to hint at what you guys are doing, I'm sure the guys would love to hear.
I'd pay attention to the BRC 004 stuff. We kind of already have some things in queue there. We try to slowly drip things as I get the green light that it's definitely going to happen on Discord. So I'm gonna keep my mouth shut for now, even though I'd love to spill the beans, but we'll hold off.
Cool. So for those of us who are wanting to find out more and keep up to date with the stuff you guys are doing, where's the best place that they should go to stay updated?
Twitter's always good. You're going to get the information pretty quick there. I'm a little bit faster to post to Discord, so if you want the information right away, Discord's the way you're going to get that. But you'll get the same information on Twitter, just a little bit slower.
Nice. Awesome. Well, look, thank you very much for joining us today. It's been a real pleasure. Also, thank you very much to the listeners who jumped in and came along and supported us. If you're a builder in the space, obviously would love to support you, even if it's very early on in the process. I think the earlier we get security into the conversation, the more likely it is that everyone's going to succeed. But yeah, thank you very much and catch you all soon.
Thanks, Will.